In today's video, I'm going to be taking a look at the Nilfisk Excellent 160 pressure washer, primarily in the context of car detailing and patio cleaning. Nilfisk did kindly send this pressure washer for me to test out, however they haven't sponsored this video, and I am going to be giving you my honest thoughts on it, having used it for the past couple of months, including the advantages and the drawbacks of this particular machine. There wasn't too much to do in terms of setup with this pressure washer. It really was just a case of slotting a few bits together in order to assemble the onboard storage for the gun and the lance, and then also screwing on the inlet for the hose at the front. So I'm going to first talk about the design and the storage features of this machine before I move on to the pressure washer's performance. So this has a 10-metre flexi hose, and it does come with an integrated hose wheel, so it made it really easy for me to set it up and pack it away at the end of the wash. There is some onboard storage for both the gun and the lance, and also the short nozzle and the foam cannon. There is some storage for the mains cable at the back too, and like with the foam cannon storage, this does just secure using that rubber strap, which does hold it nicely in place, but I do wish it was secured at one side, so it didn't flick off quite as easily. It has a telescopic handle and some wheels to make it a bit easier to move around. This is quite a heavy machine. There are some varying specifications online. I've seen weight measurements of between 20.9 and 23 kilos, so I'm not sure exactly what the weight is of this, but it's in the low 20s. This definitely makes it tricky to actually pick up the machine, however to wheel it around it's no trouble at all. Now onto the actual performance of this particular pressure washer. Now this is the Nilfisk Excellent 160 model, and that 160 refers to that pressure, so it does have a maximum pressure of 160 bar. This is relatively high compared to other pressure washers that I've tried in the past. It doesn't have any pressure adjustments, so you can't bring that level down, however it didn't feel too strong for a vehicle and did offer plenty of cleaning ability. The maximum flow rate on this is 450 litres per hour, which equates to 7.5 litres per minute. It's nothing groundbreaking, but it's definitely a decent amount to be working with. The Excellent series of pressure washers do have an induction motor and a metal pump. This contributes to that performance, but they are also well regarded for being long lasting. This machine does come with a 2-year warranty, but you can actually extend that up to 5 years if you register it within 30 days on the website. Just a quick note though that this is a consumer only warranty, it's not meant for professional use. Another advantage of this induction motor is it does lower the volume, so it doesn't sound quite as loud when it's in use. Now I will jump into a bit of a comparison between a few other domestic pressure washers that I've tried, so you can hear the differences between them. Now what I wanted to do in the next section was talk a little bit more in depth about the accessories that this pressure washer comes with, and I'll start off by talking about the gun and the lance. Now the gun on this is fairly short. It's not as short as an aftermarket stubby gun, but it isn't nearly as long as the Karcher K4 option that I've used previously. The letdown here though is that the only accessories that you can put directly into this gun are the foam cannon and also that short nozzle. Now that short nozzle is actually only used for low pressure rinsing. It doesn't have any real power to it, so you can't really use it for actually cleaning the vehicle. It's only really good for things like rinsing out wheel brushes and also filling and rinsing out your buckets. In order to actually use that fan pressure wash attachment, you have to use it with that long lance, which can feel really awkward, particularly when you're cleaning wheels or if you are in a tighter space. You can put an adapter in that short gun to essentially convert it to a 1/4 inch quick release system. However, it just feels a bit more of a clunky option. And also I did get a little bit of hand fatigue when using this short trigger when I was going around the whole car. This isn't something I've got with my aftermarket short trigger like my MTM SGS 35, so I do feel like there are better options out there, and if I was using this all the time, I would personally use it with an aftermarket short trigger. The lance itself has 3 different settings on it, so it has 2 fan settings, a 20° and a 60°, and it also has the turbo nozzle as well. Now you don't want to be using the turbo nozzle on your car as it can cause damage. This is just really used for patio cleaning. In order to alternate between those 3 different settings, you do just twist the lance, which I was a little bit concerned with at first as I thought I might accidentally do it midway through washing the car, but that just didn't happen at all. You do have to really kind of intentionally do it, even though it feels quite easy to do so. One nice feature of the gun that I did notice is that it does have a little button on the back which you can press to adjust the spray pattern. This can be really useful when rinsing, and it is not a feature that a lot of pressure washer guns out of the box come with, and it overcomes some of the disadvantages of having a bayonet fitting, which usually forces you into one spray pattern. Now onto the foam cannon, which I did notice was a significant upgrade compared to the one that came with the Core 150 model that I reviewed quite a few months back. There are quite a few drawbacks though, unfortunately, which means that it isn't as good as aftermarket options, like those by MTM and MJJC for example. It only has a 700ml capacity. I do wish that this was a full litre, and there aren't any markings on the bottle for you to be able to measure it out, so you do have to use a measuring jug instead. I also do wish it was a wide mouth design, as both filling and emptying it are trickier due to the narrow opening. I think it's a nice addition to have this foam cannon in the overall package. However, I do feel like an aftermarket one is going to offer a better experience, and this one would be a good spare, or for using for dedicated chemicals like foaming spray sealants, which you might not want to contaminate your regular foam cannon with. Now onto the hose, which as I said at the start is a 10 metre hose. I think this is a pretty good length, as it does mean you can get round most of the vehicle and you don't have to actually move the pressure washer throughout the cleaning process. You can also pick up extension hoses for this if you feel like you do need it. The integrated hose reel is a massive advantage, which a lot of pressure washers don't really come with. Being able to pull that out and wind that back up at the end of the wash just really speeds things up and also keeps the storage nice and neat. The hose itself is a flexi hose. It did coil up a little bit as I was using it, and I had to be mindful of that, but I didn't get any kinks in the hose whatsoever, so I do think it's a decent quality, although it's not the best one I've ever used. The final accessory to discuss is the Patio Cleaner. This is a UFO style patio cleaner, and I actually have very little experience using one of these, and I really did appreciate having one. Although it doesn't have as much power as using the turbo nozzle at the end of the lance, the time saving that you get is massive. Now Nilfisk have kindly offered viewers of the channel a deal on this pressure washer and the Patio Cleaner, so essentially you can purchase this pressure washer for the same retail price of £309.99 and get the Patio Cleaner for free with it. Details of this offer are going to be in the video description as usual, so you can check it out if you are interested. Now I did want to briefly discuss some of the other options you can get with Nilfisk, as I have reviewed one of their other pressure washers recently, and that was the Core 150 model. Now that model is a decent bit cheaper than this, coming in at £235.99, and with that you are getting a machine that is a decent bit louder and doesn't have quite the same build quality. In terms of the performance, they didn't feel wildly different. You do get 10 bar of extra pressure with the Excellent 160, but the flow on them is very similar, and in fact it's actually marginally higher on paper with that Nilfisk Core 150. The Core 150 is a good option if you do want to modify your pressure washer, for example by using those aftermarket stubby guns and foam lances, so I will pop a link in the description to my review of that as well if you are considering a pressure washer in that price range. It's also worth taking a look at the Excellent 170 version of this pressure washer, as it does have a few upgrades, including that extra 10 bar of pressure, and you also do get 48 litres per hour extra of flow, which is quite a significant difference. Another upgrade I noticed on the specs is it has a steel reinforced hose, so again an upgrade compared to the flexi one here. I will pop a link in the description to Supercharged Llama's video on the Excellent 170, and he also compared it to that Core 150 model, so it's well worth watching if you still haven't made up your mind. As always, I'm going to be linking this pressure washer, the other accessories I've mentioned, and the other videos too in the description. And if you have found this video helpful, then it would be great if you could drop it a like, and thanks very much for watching.